Now, we know by now there's a huge amount of football starting tomorrow. There's the South Africa test against England starting tomorrow as well. Full commentary. It's going to be great on talkSPORT too. But not everybody's going to be watching football all the time or listening to it on talkSPORT. So right now we've got some other recommendations for you. Festive film recommendations courtesy of our main man, Van Connor, who's going to talk us through 5 days of small screen, big screen offerings on Freeview. Good morning, Van, and Merry Christmas, Van.
A good morning and a Merry Christmas to you as well, Mr. Ross.
And your recommendation, your first one, is an absolute Christmas classic. It's on later on today. It's ITV2 at 4:10. It's Elf. What a choice.
Oh, I know. You can't beat Elf for a Christmas classic, can you? It's Will Ferrell on top form.
And, of course, it's one of those films that has become part of our culture now when it comes to Christmas. It's like a modern Christmas classic. There's a stage show. They were talking about a sequel, weren't they, for a while as well, I think?
Yeah, it comes up every now and again that there are murmurings. I hope they never do it. I hope they leave it alone. It's great as it is. It needs to stand alone as a solitary work. I mean, we all know this movie by now. You know, the great Bob Newhart's in there, Will Ferrell, James Caan, Zooey Deschanel. And it's the story of, a human baby who accidentally gets taken to the North Pole, raised as an elf by Santa and the rest of the elves in the workshop, and sets off for the big city to find his birth father, who of course is on the naughty list. And as the two get to know each other, Buddy the elf falls in love with a girl who works in a nearby department store, and it's all about bringing Christmas cheer to all around you. I've got a clip for you, and this is, of course, one of the great moments, one of the great Santa moments.
So, how old are you, son?
4.
You're a big boy. What's your name?
Paul.
And what can I get you for Christmas?
Don't tell him what you want. He's a liar.
Let the kid talk.
You disgust me. How can you live with yourself?
Just cool it, Zippy.
You sit on a throne of lies.
Look, I'm not kidding.
You're a fake.
I'm a fake?
Yes.
How'd you like to be dead? Huh? No, he's kidding.
You stink.
I think you're going to have a good Christmas, all right?
You smell like beef and cheese. You don't smell like Santa.
See, that is such a great film, and I'm going to lower the tone now, I'm afraid, for later on today, Christmas Day, because I do love the Carry On movies. We've got, as my recommendation, I can only apologise if you don't like these films, but ITV3, 5:30, it's 50 years old this year. It was released in 1969. I'm going for Carry On Camping, Van. Are you a Carry On fan?
I am, but I don't think anyone could be as big a Carry On fan as you, Paul. You are the Carry On movies incarnate.
I mean, I love double entendres, single entendres, any entendres. It's Carry On Camping. You don't need to know the setup. It's got all the greats in there. Kenneth Williams, Peter Butterworth is in there. Of course, Barbara Windsor, Terry Scott. It's a great film. The wonderful Charles Hawtrey is in it. Let's have the trailer from back in 1969. It's Carry On Camping.
If you are thinking of a holiday under canvas this year, wait.
Wouldn't surprise me if we didn't have a drop of rain. You had to open your big mouth.
We might be able to help you decide to carry on camping.
I shouldn't have eaten those radishes.
Good morning, Dr. Sofa. Are we all loaded?
Good off. A camping holiday is a whole lot of fun. It ensures good, healthy exercise.
And up.
Gives you a new lease of life.
Well, if this is paradise, give me hell.
And helps you to make new friends.
I wonder if he's offended about something.
The hilarious comedy crew are here again as they carry on camping. And causing chaos and confusion wherever they go.
The thing about Carry On films is you know when the gags are coming, you know what the gag's going to be, it can still make you laugh. I think that's nice, kind of park your brain at the door. An offering for this afternoon, 5:30 ITV3. Let's go now to tomorrow, to Boxing Day, and you're going to warm things up a bit for us, aren't you, Van?
Well, I'm going to take you full on Olympic with this one. So it's, of course, the 1993 classic Cool Runnings, which is showing, say, Boxing Day. This is showing on Channel 5 at 5:15, so it's all about the fives. And this stars the late, great John Candy as the disgraced former Olympian who becomes the coach of the first first Jamaican Olympic bobsled team. This is loosely based on a true story. It's directed by John Turteltaub, who would go on to direct the National Treasure movies, and most recently The Meg, starring Jason Statham. It's a stone cold classic, and as they're struggling to find the funds to get to the Olympics, that's when this great clip comes along.
It's Channel 5, it's 5:15 tomorrow. Here it is, Cool Runnings.
We got $9.52 from Yul Brynner. Thank you. We got $184 from Doris and me. Sanka, how did your singing on the street go?
How did it go? It went like this.
Enough people say, you know, they can't believe. Jamaica, we have a bobsled team. We have the one there is. How much? I made $1.16.
I didn't realise that was based in part on a true story then, Van.
I didn't either, actually. It's such a weird one. And you look at the cast on this as well, which is people like Malik Yoba, who's gone on some great things in recent years. Raymond Barry's in there. John Candy, obviously, is an icon. Peter Outerbridge, when he was much younger, was in this as well. It's a really, really fun movie, but it's also really touching and really sweet in its own little subtle ways. The cast are absolutely brilliant. Raul Lewis, Dougie Doug, and Leon. It's just one of those movies that you can watch over and over again. It's an oft-watched one in our house.
Okay, I've got a ghost story recommendation for tomorrow. A nice creepy Christmas ghost story for Boxing Day. It's 10:55, 5 to 11 in the Old Money on Channel 5. Stars Daniel Radcliffe. It's Woman in Black, which is a great kind of, it was a big stage play hit for years and years. I think it's a good old ghost story. I haven't got a clip for it, but let's move on now to Friday, and you're back on Will Ferrell. It's Blades of Glory this time around. It's on Film 4, 9 o'clock, I think, on Friday.
Indeed. And yeah, you can't beat a bit of Will Ferrell when it comes down to it. But this was just one of those movies. I never got to see this when it was on theatrical. I think I caught it on DVD like 6 months later, and I instantly fell in love with this. This is Will Ferrell and John Heder, so Napoleon Dynamite himself. Not in many films, John Heder, but he's great when he is. And this is the story of two Olympic figure skaters who, due to their own temperaments, get disqualified and kicked out of the men's singles competition, only to then discover that there is a loophole that they're allowed back in as a duo, as they qualify as a pairs team. I've got a clip for you of this really wacky setup of the pair of them just bickering over how to be an ice skating duo.
So, Coach, I was thinking about the music for our routine.
Right. We're gonna skate to one song only. Lady Hump by the Black Eyed Peas. What you gonna do with all that junk inside my trunk? I'm gonna get you drunk off my lady hump, my lovely lady hump.
I'm not skating to anything with references to lady humps. I don't even know what that means.
No one knows what it means, but it's provocative.
No, it's not. It
gets the people going.
It's
no, that's enough. Why do you guys keep doing that?
I think one of the problems Will Ferrell's had, that Elf had such a huge effect on people that some of his follow-ups, like Talladega Nights or even Blades of Glory, people are a bit underwhelmed by. But it's a very funny film, this Blades of Glory, I think.
Oh, absolutely. Again, supporting cast on this one is absolutely insane. You read this now, and in the sort of 10 to 12 years since this movie was out, almost everyone who starred in this movie has gone on to something huge. It's got people like Will Arnett, who, is Lego Batman to an entire generation now. It's got Amy Poehler, who had Parks and Recreation after this, Jenna Fisher from The Office, Bill Fichtner, who we know from like Armageddon and The Dark Knight, Craig T. Nelson, who's Mr. Incredible himself, and Romany Malco. It is a great movie. Just chock full of laughs, so many great gags. And again, it's quite good with the touchy-feely moments as well. There's a few nice little bits in there.
And I've got a good football-linked recommendation for Friday. It's on E4, 8 o'clock. I know people have seen this, but it's still a great film. Guest starring Gary Lineker, and at the end, a David Beckham lookalike, not the real David Beckham. It's Bend It Like Beckham, starring... In fact, it's a film that kind of introduced the world to Keira Knightley, pretty much. Parminder Nagra is one of the big stars in it as well. It's a great, cute film. It's almost a modern Ealing comedy, this, I think, Van.
Oh, yeah, definitely. That's a very good comparison to make with it, actually. It's like I say, Gurinder Chadha recently came back with Blinded by the Light, and there were many comparisons to Bend It Like Beckham made. This, though, is a really great movie, a really well-grounded, well-done movie. I think there was an absolute star-making turn from Keira Knightley in there, even though it wasn't her movie. But Parminder Nagra, I think, is really something special in this.
Fantastic film. For those who don't know, it's about the trials and tribulations of young girls, mainly Asian girls, struggles to play women's football, which now, of course, is more and more timely as it goes on. Let's have the trailer. Bend It Like Beckham, E4, Friday night at about 8 o'clock.
That's it. No more soccer.
But I'm really good.
What did I do wrong in my past life?
Jess had a talent that was something special.
That was brilliant. Really good.
Yeah, almost as good as a man.
And a family that was something else.
Mrs. Bammer, you must be very proud of your daughter.
Not at all. And you three shouldn't encourage her. Girls aren't supposed to play soccer.
Mom's never wanted me to play. You just can't take no for an answer.
Whoops.
Oh, will you both pack it in?
I'm not going
to give it up.
All I'm saying is there is a reason why Sporty Spice is the only one of them without a boyfriend.
And now let's turn to the weekend, Van. What have you got for us on Saturday?
So we've got a premiere on ITV on Saturday. This is going out on at 8:30 on Saturday, and it is, for my money, one of the best sequels ever made. And not only that, one of the best Marvel movies, would you believe? It's Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 from all the way back in 2017. It is the Guardians, as we know them from having assembled in the previous movie, basically struggling to stay a family unit when Star-Lord, Chris Pratt's long estranged father enters the picture, and his father is played by none other than Kurt Russell. Along the way as well, they meet Kurt Russell's, I think he calls her his pet at one point, Mantis, played by Pom Clemente. I almost said Pam Clemente. Pom Clemente, who has antennas, and she's an empath. She can touch you, and she can feel what you are feeling. And in this clip, she does exactly that with Star-Lord.
Fantastic.
You feel love.
Yeah, I guess, I feel a general unselfish love for just about everybody.
No. Romantic. Sexual love.
No, I don't.
For her.
No, that is not... Okay.
She just told everyone your deepest, darkest secret.
Dude, come on. I think you're overreacting a little bit.
You must be so embarrassed. Do me.
See, I've got a theory, not much of a theory, but my thought is that comic books that aren't huge successes, that were more cult, like Guardians of the Galaxy, like Hellboy, make better films. Because they don't have that weight of expectation on them. And the Guardians of the Galaxy, those two films, are just fantastic.
Well, that's it. I mean, it is all about the weight of expectation. The first Guardians of the Galaxy, I remember coming out of the Odeon in Leicester Square, just elated at what I'd just seen, and calling my uncle and saying they've done it. They've made their Star Wars. They've found their own version of Star Wars. We don't need a Star Wars movie now. As it would happen, we'd only be a year away at that point from an actual Star Wars movie, and it would go on to be owned by that studio as well. So, but this as well, the Guardians of the Galaxy franchise made a rock star out of James Gunn as well, the writer-director, who's not been without his controversies in the last few years.
Absolutely.
Currently at work on The Suicide Squad for Warner Brothers. But Guardians of the Galaxy 2 is a movie so steeped in just rich emotion and pop fun and just wacky, zany action, and just the soundtrack on this. I mean, a film has to be really good to pull off what they do with that Cat Stevens song.
Brilliant stuff. Okay, now my recommendation for Saturday is, I couldn't let my top tips go by without a Western. It's Unforgiven, a Clint Eastwood masterpiece. He wrote it and stars in it from 1992. It's on ITV4. It's an absolute belter. I haven't got a clip for it because I don't think you need one. It's got one of my favourite lines from a Western, though, when Clint Eastwood, who plays a kind of gunslinger for hire, hired by a bunch of prostitutes, one of whose number's been badly beaten up by some savage cowboys, he wreaks vengeance on them. And there's one bit when he calls a guy, and he outguns the guy, and the guy says, "I don't deserve this," and Clint says, "Deserve's got nothing to do with it." So that's Unforgiven for Saturday night, and you've got a great one to end with for Sunday for us, Van.
I do. For me, this is the perfect way to end the Christmas week, and that is, of course, Saving Mr. Banks, which I believe is another premiere. This is for BBC Two. This is 3 p.m. It's the perfect Sunday afternoon film, this. I saw this a couple of years ago at a Disney trade show with no knowledge whatsoever of what it was, and it is the story of P.L. Travers, the author behind Mary Poppins, behind the Mary Poppins books, and it's her war against Walt Disney, effectively, as they tried to make what would become, the iconic Mary Poppins movie. She hated literally everything about the movie. She fought them at every single turn. She's played here by none other than Emma Thompson. And Walt Disney, well, who could you possibly get to play a charming
it could only be the modern-day Jimmy Stewart, Tom Hanks, and he's brilliant in this, isn't he?
He really is. I'll tell you, I've got a clip of them meeting for the very first time for you.
I can't believe P.L. Travers right here in my office. Right, all these years, almost 20 of them?
Yes.
20 long years. I wish you could have seen me then, Pam. Lean as a whippet I was. A racehorse. Well, anyway. Now here you are, and look at you. Oh, I could just eat you up.
That wouldn't be appropriate.
What I loved about this as well, it gave its real respect and recognition to the Sherman Brothers, who wrote the music for this. So many other Disney films did the songs for Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. It's a really touching film. One of the great films, I think, one of the great movies about movie making, this film. And a lot more than that.
Yeah, that's funny you say that as well, because it's very rare that a movie that is about the making of a movie works on such a mainstream level, on such a broad spectrum. Like, anybody can watch this movie and just fall in love with it. And the fact that it is about making a movie, that makes it somewhat of a rarity. But it's all about that cast of this one. Like you say about the Sherman brothers, they're played here by B.J. Novak and Jason Schwartzman. Bradley Whitford, I think, is their co-writer. His name Don DeGrady, I think. Paul Giamatti's in there. He's superb. You've got Colin Farrell and Ruth Wilson as the younger P.L. Travers' parents. Kathy Baker's in there in a little supporting role. Rachel Griffiths as well. It is just a wonderful film, but it is all about that Emma Thompson performance. She is just an absolute blinder in this.
Brilliant stuff. So that's Saving Mr. Banks, BBC 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Sunday. And, well, you've given us a superhero film, Guardians of the Galaxy. I see your Guardians, and I raise you a spider pig, because I want to end with Sunday evening, 7:15, E4. It's the Simpsons movie from 2007. I was very nervous about this because the Simpsons is absolutely classic modern art, and I thought if they extend it, it could dilute it. It didn't at all. This is a smash, this film, I think.
It's a great movie. A friend of mine actually saw it the day before I did, and he's literally, and he was right when he said this, you will laugh from the opening frame, and the opening frame being the 20th Century Fox logo, has Ralph Wiggum in it doing the song, and it's doing the 20th Century Fox jingle. It's an absolute belter of a film. Funny you mentioned about Guardians of the Galaxy in relation to this, because they are both ultimately father-son stories. This as well focuses heavily on the relationship between Homer and Bart, and I thought that, again, really touching. We're big in the emotion this week, you and I, Paul, I think. We're big with the feels.
We're allowed that for Christmas. Let's have the Simpsons movie trailer. As we say, huge thanks, kudos and respect, and thanks for all his support throughout the year to Van Connor. Van, remind people where they can see you in an animated form and read your utterings. Where are you available online?
You can find me every Friday on the Off-Screen podcast on podcast platforms with Rebecca Perfect, doing our ultimate 7-day movie guide every week. You can find me in cartoon form on YouTube as a talking film reviewing head on the Me Movie Show. We're relaunching that in the new year. And of course, you can find me dotted throughout Talk Radio and BBC as well.
Okay, you're in cartoon form. Let's end with a cartoon film now. Here it is, the trailer for Simpsons, the movie. It's on E4. It's Sunday night at 7:15. Enjoy, and a very Merry Christmas, Van. Thank you so much, matey.
Until the next year, good sir.
Here are the Simpsons.
20th Century Fox presents the greatest Simpsons family adventure of all time.
Dad, it's not fair to use a bug zapper to catch the fish.
I think I have a nibble.
On July 27th.
President Schwarzenegger.
That is me.
Springfield has reached crisis levels. I've narrowed your choices down to 5 unthinkable options.
I was elected to lead, not to read.
When disaster threatens our world,
They're going to destroy Springfield.
one family will show everyone what they're made of.
This is the worst day of my life.
So worst day of your life so far.